Here's a truth most people don't want to face. Failure isn't random. It doesn't happen because someone is unlucky, cursed, or not built for success. Failure happens because most people are unknowingly following a pattern, an invisible script that keeps them stuck, unproductive, and endlessly frustrated. And if you don't know what that script is, you will repeat it without even realizing it. Because the truth is simple but uncomfortable. 90% of people fail not because they're not capable, but because they don't understand how success actually works. But if you can understand the patterns that pull people down and the mindset that lifts the 10% up, you can break the cycle. Not someday, not eventually, but right now. Let's dive deep. Most people fail because they want results without the sacrifice. A harsh truth. Most people want the outcome, not the process. They want the money, the body, the status, the lifestyle, but they don't want the sacrifice, the repetition, or the discomfort that produces those results. People love success stories because they're inspiring. But when they discover what success requires, that inspiration quickly fades into resistance. The 90% want what success feels like. The 10% accept what success demands. Most people quit the moment things become inconvenient. They want change, but they don't want their routines interrupted. They want growth, but they don't want to outgrow anything. They want progress, but they don't want pressure. And here's the psychological trap. Humans are wired to avoid discomfort and seek ease. It's a survival instinct. The problem? Success lives exactly where the discomfort is. Think about how many people decide they'll improve their life. Tomorrow, next week, after the holidays, when they feel ready. The 90% wait for the perfect moment, which never comes. The 10% create the moment by acting, even when they don't feel like it. If you want to join the 10%, you need one mindset shift. Comfort is the enemy. Friction is fuel. Difficulty means you're on the right path. When you embrace the process, the breakthrough becomes inevitable. Most people fail because they lack direction and they don't try to fix it. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck is that they have goals, but no direction. They say they want to be successful, wealthy, disciplined, healthier, happier. But if you ask them, how, exactly, they couldn't answer. A dream without a roadmap is just a wish. The 90% spend years walking in circles because they set vague, blurry goals that sound nice but lead nowhere. They chase every new idea, every new trend, every new quick fix, hoping something will finally stick. But all that does is scatter their energy. A scattered mind cannot create a focused life. Meanwhile, the 10% operate differently. They define a goal so clearly that there is no confusion about what needs to be done. They don't say, I want to get better. They say, I want to reach this milestone by this date through this method. When you know exactly where you're going, your mind becomes a compass that naturally guides every decision. That's why the 10% move forward even when progress is slow. They know the destination. The 90% stop because they're wandering without a map. Direction doesn't require certainty. It just requires clarity. And clarity is something you create, not something you wait for. If you want to be in the 10%, start with this question. What do I want exactly? Then break it into steps that no longer feel intimidating, but actionable. Direction turns failure into progress. The 90% fail because they're controlled by emotion instead of discipline. Here's something most people never admit. They make decisions based on how they feel in the moment. If they feel tired, they skip the hard task. If they feel unmotivated, they stop working. If they feel discouraged, they slow down. They treat emotions like commands instead of signals. But emotions are unreliable. They fluctuate with sleep, stress, environment, and even weather. And yet many people let those fragile states determine the direction of their life. The 90% follow emotion. The 10% follow discipline. Discipline doesn't mean ignoring emotion. It means acting despite emotion. It means doing the work even when you're tired, frustrated, bored, or uninspired. Motivation pushes you for a day. Discipline carries you for a lifetime. No one successful feels motivated all the time. They simply do the work whether motivation shows up or not. That's why the 10% accelerate while the 90% stall. If you want to be among the 10%, Start by understanding. Your feelings don't decide your actions. Your commitment does. Every day, ask yourself, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? Then do exactly that. You don't need to feel ready. You need to act ready. Most people fail because they surround themselves with the wrong people. You become like the people around you, not metaphorically, not spiritually, literally. Your brain mirrors the habits, beliefs, discipline, and energy of your environment. That's why someone who grows up around entrepreneurs often becomes one. That's why disciplined people rise higher when surrounded by other disciplined people. But here's the problem. The 90% are surrounded by people who reinforce the life they're trying to escape. People who complain, procrastinate, distract themselves, avoid growth, and normalize mediocrity. These environments drain ambition like a leak in a pipe. You don't lose your drive all at once. It fades quietly through the energy and expectations of the people around you. The 10% do something hard but necessary. They curate their environment, not in a cold or arrogant way, but in a purposeful way. They spend less time with people who drain them and more time with people who challenge and inspire them. They find mentors, seek out higher standards, and place themselves in spaces where growth is normal, not exceptional. Because here's the truth. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. You can be hardworking, focused, and ambitious, but surrounded by the wrong people, you will shrink. Put yourself around the right people, and you will rise without even trying. If you want to be part of the 10%, start auditing your circle. Ask yourself, who makes me better just by being around them? Spend more time there. Your life will shift faster than you ever imagined. The 90% fail because they quit too early, right before the breakthrough. The biggest reason people fail is not lack of intelligence, resources, or ability. It's timing. Most people quit when success is just one more effort away. They stop the moment it gets hard, the moment doubt creeps in, the moment progress slows down, or the moment results take longer than expected. Success is slow, frustratingly slow, painfully slow, and that's the part no one wants to talk about. You will put in work that doesn't show for weeks, months, even years. You will question yourself. You will feel stuck. You will think you're not improving. But what you don't see is the compound effect happening behind the scenes. Every skill learned, every small habit repeated, every tiny improvement building on the last. Then, one day, the results hit all at once. Not gradually. Suddenly, the 10% experience this because they refuse to quit during the invisible phase. The 90% never do because they walk away right before the shift happens. If you want to join the 10%, you need to understand something. There will be weeks where nothing makes sense. There will be days you question everything. There will be moments you want to give up. And those are the exact moments you must not stop. Because the breakthrough comes after the struggle, not before it. Success is delayed. Failure is immediate. The 10% choose delay over quitting, and that choice makes all the difference. The 10% don't just work hard, they work smart. People love the idea of hard work, but hard work without strategy is exhaustion. The 90% confuse movement with progress. They stay busy, but they're not advancing. They run in circles, repeating the same routines, expecting different results. The 10% think differently. They analyze, adjust, and refine. They study patterns, measure progress, and improve their approach. They don't just ask, "What should I do?" They ask, "What's the smartest way to do this?" Working hard makes you tired. Working smart makes you unstoppable. Efficiency is the weapon of the top 10%. They eliminate distractions, prioritize high-impact actions, and structure their life to minimize wasted time. They don't try to do everything. They focus on the few things that create the biggest results. If you want to join the 10%, remember, success isn't about how many hours you work. It's about how effectively you use the hours you already have. The 10% take full responsibility for their life. This is the ultimate separator. The biggest factor that decides whether someone becomes the 90% or the 10% comes down to one thing: responsibility. The 90% blame their environment, their past, their circumstances, their job, their family, the economy, their upbringing, everything except themselves. And when you blame something outside of you, You give away all your power to change. The 10% do the opposite. They take full responsibility for their outcomes even when something was not their fault. They don't complain, they don't make excuses, and they don't wait for things to change before they move. They act, they adapt, they take control. Responsibility creates freedom. Blame creates imprisonment. The moment you take ownership of your life, everything shifts. Because now, you're the driver, not the passenger. If you ever feel stuck, discouraged, or unmotivated, remember this. The 90% fail because they follow the crowd. The 10% succeed because they choose a different path. And being the 10% isn't about being smarter, richer, or more talented. It's about choosing discipline over excuses, direction over confusion, responsibility over blame, consistency over comfort. You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. You just need to make the choice right now to do what the 90% won't. Because the moment you choose that path, you're already on your way to becoming the 10%. And once you get there, there's no going back.